Welcome to the show. I am looking out the window right now here in Chicago, and it is a bitter 14 degrees outside. The wind is hitting the glass, and it makes you want to just stay inside, stay quiet, and hide under a blanket. And that feeling of hiding is exactly what we are talking about today. But not because of the cold. We are talking about the tendency to hide our voices. Mia, I am really glad you are here.
Thank you, Alex. It is a harsh winter here. But honestly, the topic we are covering today can feel just as freezing for a lot of people.
Exactly. Today we are talking about confidence, specifically when communicating in English as a second language. But I want to go past the basic advice. I want to talk about the physical pain of this. There is a very real scenario. You are sitting in a corporate office, maybe downtown Chicago. You have the answer to the problem the team is facing. The sentence is perfectly constructed in your head, but you sit there. Your heart rate goes up, your palms sweat, and your mouth refuses to open. And then a less experienced colleague says a worse idea, but they say it loudly, and they get the credit.
That is a heartbreaking reality, and it happens every single day. I see this constantly with the professionals I work with. The issue in that room is not a lack of vocabulary. It is a complete emotional block. People often think, if I just learn 500 more words, I will be brave. But that is a myth. You can memorize the entire dictionary, and fear will still keep your mouth completely shut.
Why does that happen? What is actually happening in our brains when we freeze like that?
There is a fascinating concept in linguistics called the affective filter hypothesis. When your anxiety is high, your brain literally puts up a physical barrier. It blocks your ability to access the language you already know.
Wait, really? So it is not just me forgetting a word? My brain is actively hiding the words from me because I am scared?
Exactly. Let us say your functional vocabulary is 2,000 words when you are relaxed at home. The moment you step into that stressful boardroom, your high affective filter drops your accessible vocabulary down to maybe 300 words.
That explains so much. I have spoken to people who tell me they feel like two different people. At home, they are articulate, funny, and smart. At work, they feel like they sound like a child.
And that triggers a deep insecurity, especially for adults. Adults are used to being competent. They are engineers, nurses, financial analysts. They hate the feeling of appearing incompetent.
That makes sense. Children do not care if they sound silly. They just want to play. If a child says, "I gut to the park," nobody stops them to correct their grammar. We just smile.
Precisely. But as adults, we place this massive expectation of perfection on ourselves. We think that if our grammar is not flawless, people will judge our intelligence. So, we choose silence over imperfection.
And the economic cost of that silence is huge, especially right now with inflation and the cost of living in places like Chicago. You cannot afford to be invisible at work. Promotions go to the visible people.
That is the painful truth. Visibility equals opportunity. When you wait to feel confident before you speak, you are effectively pausing your career and your life.
I want to highlight that. People say, "I will speak up when my English is perfect. I will join the conversation when I stop feeling nervous."
That is completely backwards. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. Confidence is the reward you get after you take the action. You have to speak while your hands are shaking.
Speak while your hands are shaking. I really like that. It reminds me of cognitive load theory. If your brain is spending all its energy worrying about how you look, you have no energy left to actually form the sentence.
Yes, this is why the primary goal of speaking English is not perfection. It is communication. It is transferring an idea from your brain to my brain. If I understand you, the communication was successful.
Let us get practical. What happens when someone is in the middle of a sentence, everyone is looking at them, and they suddenly forget a very basic word? They just freeze in terror.
This is why we teach the skill of paraphrasing. If you forget the word calculator, you do not stop and panic. You say, "the small machine we use for numbers." The meeting moves forward and nobody judges you.
That is so simple, but so effective. It requires letting go of the ego. You have to be willing to sound simple in order to be understood.
Exactly. Many learners think fluency means speaking at incredible speed using academic vocabulary. But true fluency is comfort. It is the ability to maintain the connection even when you make a mistake.
I want to share a harsh reality about American culture, especially in fast-paced cities. People appreciate brevity. They prefer a short, clear sentence with basic grammar over a complex, confusing sentence.
I agree completely. In professional settings here, no one is grading your grammar. They just want to know if you can solve the problem. If you say, "I have an idea, let us do this," it is powerful.
What about the fear of mispronunciation? I know people who stay awake at night replaying conversations, torturing themselves because they pronounced a word wrong.
That rumination is toxic. Here is another counterintuitive fact. Native speakers mispronounce words, stumble, and use filler words constantly. We just do not notice it because we are focused on the message.
That is so true. We forgive ourselves for being messy in our native language, but we demand robot-like perfection in our second language.
To overcome this, you need to change your inner dialogue. Instead of thinking, "I am terrible at English," you need to tell yourself, "I am successfully communicating in a foreign language."
How does someone actually practice that? Because thinking positive thoughts sounds nice, but when the pressure is on, those thoughts disappear.
You build it through micro habits. Do not try to give a 10-minute presentation right away. Start by making small comments in low-stress environments. Go to the coffee shop and ask the barista a simple question.
So, exposure therapy. You are training your nervous system that speaking English does not equal danger.
Exactly. When you ask a question at the grocery store and the cashier answers normally, your brain registers a victory. It realizes, "I spoke, I made a small error, and I survived."
I love the idea of building small victories. What is a strategy for joining group conversations? That is always the hardest part because the pace is so fast.
Group dynamics are tough. The trick is to use entry phrases. Do not wait for a long pause because it will never happen. You use short phrases to open the door, like, "I agree with that," or "That is interesting because..."
That buys you time. Once you say, "I agree with that," everyone looks at you. The floor is yours, and you can take a breath to finish your thought.
Yes, and if you make a mistake while you are holding the floor, just correct it simply and keep moving. Say, "I went to the office yesterday. Sorry, I meant I went to the store yesterday."
That level of casual correction shows immense confidence. It tells the room, "I am human. I am comfortable with myself, and my ideas matter."
It is all about posture. Even your physical stance matters. If you are slouched over looking at the floor, you send a signal to your own brain to feel small. Sit up, make eye contact, and project your voice.
Let us connect this back to something we said earlier. The fear of being judged. What if they actually are judging you? Some people are just unkind.
If someone judges you for speaking a second language, that is a reflection of their limitation, not yours. You are operating in two worlds. They are likely only operating in one.
That is a powerful perspective. You are doing the hard work of bridging the gap. You have already won by simply being at the table.
Exactly. But you have to claim your seat at that table. I recommend a simple daily routine to build this muscle. Every morning, say 5 sentences out loud about your day. Talk to yourself in the mirror.
Talking to yourself feels strange at first, but I guess athletes do drills alone before they play in a stadium. This is just a mental drill.
It is a crucial drill. Your mouth needs physical practice forming English sounds without the pressure of an audience. When you do it daily, you build muscle memory.
This has been incredibly deep. It is not just about grammar books. It is about psychology, economics, and human connection.
Communication is always about connection. Do not let fear rob you of your right to connect, to share your expertise, and to be seen.
As we wrap up, I want everyone listening to remember, confidence is comfort with imperfection. Go out there, make some messy, beautiful sentences today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Remember, keep speaking. You have a voice. Use it.